A harmonica that my niece had got a hold of, and she'd been eating banana, and the banana got wedged in the harmonica, and I went to play the harmonica on stage and went that was pretty bad.
Yuck.
But I'm gonna
Welcome to the worst gig of my life. I'm Joe Lucas, and I chat with musicians, bands, and comedians to hear the real, uncensored stories of the worst gigs they've ever played. Afterwards, our guests get a shot at redemption by doing a live set in our very own studio. This week, we have Kerryn Fields. Prepare yourselves because this episode is equal parts depressing and funny. This episode contains bad language and drug references, so don't even think about listening or watching if you're a young, impressionable child. We'd also like to thank our caterers, Devour It Catering, who provide award-winning pies for all of our guests. Enjoy the show.
I feel like I could have put them all in a hat and just like randomly drawn them out.
There are that many.
So many. I don't know, is it too soon to talk about the last gig pre-COVID? I don't know if that's like a trigger point, but that was pretty bad.
There's no rules on this show.
Oh, great.
There's some rules, but
all right.
no, that's not a rule.
Well, that was pretty bad. Maybe I could bookend this with like my first tour and my last tour. The last one, of course, is like, you know, standing on a festival stage and just looking out at a paddock of nothing. Because that morning they announced no group gatherings. However, we were playing a bushfire benefit show, and it just would have been uncool on every level to say, like, we're not gonna play for this, you know. Yeah, anyway, it feels really like, it's not even funny, it's just a really bad show.
That's horrible.
It really was bad. So it was announced that morning, it was like, do you still want to play? And we're like, people have lost their homes and Australia's on fire, and if we pull out because of this virus, like, what's this virus? And then, you know, that by that night it was like, oh, this is really awkward.
This is gonna stay.
This is really gonna be hard. Yeah. So that was the last worst gig.
Oh no.
But I'm gonna have to.
Did you play well at least? Did you actually play?
I did play.
Yeah.
It actually ended up just being the artists that were there.
Were you like facing out to the paddock, or you kind of just like?
No, it was
messing
all
around,
it
just
was
like
all paddock.
facing any angle. You just like, but were you facing the paddock to play, or just kind of like walking in circles, like facing the band, or is it just?
No, there was like 7 people from one family that had decided that they were already a group, so therefore they could gather in a public space. So I just kind of focused on them, but then it became kind of awkward for them because they were sitting in the paddock alone, being, you know, played to.
Yeah, everybody makes some noise.
Yeah, and so it was just really heartbreaking to stand there, and because the week before we'd played another festival where people were sweaty and all over each other and having a great time, and so in a matter of 7 days we had, you know, experienced that. Many artists, I'm sure, can regale very similar stories of the apocalyptic scenes.
At least you have something to blame it on.
This is true. At least it wasn't like, I thought people were coming. Because there's 1,000 other shows where I'd be like, I definitely thought I'd get more people.
Someone would accidentally come
This time it was actually not my fault. But many other times it was on me.
Yeah. Get that one out of the way.
There was a really, really bad show where I had contacted this amazing venue, and actually I won't say where because I'll just keep it.
Don't burn that bridge just yet. No,
because they're so lovely, and it was a genuine mistake. But I'd said, what kind of promo do I need to do for this beautiful show, beautiful venue, sound, lights, cameras, everything? They said, no, we've got this fantastic audience, this mailing list, you know, hundreds of people. We don't have to promo. We just, you know, sell the shows. And I showed up and they'd forgotten to send the email. So 2 people showed up and I played to those 2 people in a stunning venue, just looking out at all these seats going, this is really awkward.
Maybe they were trying to protect your feelings.
Maybe
they
were
the
like,
email out.
Oh, did you see the realisation just come over my face? Like, oh, We actually handed out flyers.
We've been non-stop for a month.
We got a
and
bus
no one
from
came.
3 hours up the road. No one wanted to get on it. It's so bad.
Oh, let's not entertain that thought.
Wow. I'm just going to sit here and mull over my anxiety for the next hour. That was
Don't
pretty
lose
bad.
sleep over. Lose a little bit of sleep, but
Just
not
a
too
fraction.
much.
Oh my gosh, it's so bad. Oh wow, it's all coming back. But I think probably like the gig or the day. I think it was because it was a day that contributed to the fuckery of this show.
Yeah.
I was in Christchurch and I'd organised with a friend who was travelling from Australia. I said, we'll do the show in Christchurch. It was my very first tour ever. So I'd booked 5 dates and I felt like I was just living the rock and roll lifestyle.
Queen of the world.
Totally. But I got to Christchurch and they were supposed to organise accommodation, and anyway, it turned out that where they were staying, they'd had a massive argument with the parents of the friend they were staying with. The friend had been letting everyone come and stay on the couch and basically treating their parents' house like this, revolving door. So I showed up in town and running kind of late, we don't really have a lot of time. I realised that the accommodation wasn't really was awkward because I showed up to the parents' house and the parents were like, who's this? And get out. And I'm just like, oh, this...
It's my first day.
I don't even know what's going on. So, anyway, I went and did the show kind of in this weird anxiety state because I had nowhere to stay and I was wondering what was going to happen, and then I had to take 3 buses it was a 20-minute drive, but I had to take 3 buses because the said parents of the friend had banned them from the car because apparently their behaviour had been... This is like... We weren't teenagers. Like this was like adult embarrassing. So I got to the show and it was like just not really quite sure what to do with myself, and I got so stressed that I lost my voice. And 2 songs in, some dude just walked up swaying with his whiskey and told me to get the off stage, give him my guitar, and let a real man show you how it's done. And I was so heartbroken.
Behavior.
I just put my guitar down in the middle of my set and I said, fine, you have a turn.
Should have just whacked him in the head with the guitar.
Well, now I know that I can. But I went outside to console myself and I lit up a smashingly fabulous joint and looked up, then there was a police officer.
Oh, God.
And I thought, this is the best day of my life.
It's medicinal.
He was very understanding. He just looked at me and he said, I think you should put that out. I was like, that is such a good idea.
That's nice. Community policing.
Nice. Go New Zealand, just like, So I ended up sleeping on the concrete floor of the said friend's parents' shed, secretly, on a flimsy yoga mat with no blanket in a very cold New Zealand autumn. And that was the worst gig ever.
You probably could have got nicer accommodation if you didn't put the joint out and was very antagonistic towards the cop.
I
and then
could have
you could have
been.
been arrested and at least would have been warm.
This is true. I didn't even think that through. All I just thought was like, don't take my weed. Don't take my weed. This has been a really bad day.
Well, now you know for next time, just in case you don't have any accommodation and,
Well, it's been a big
somewhere warm.
lesson, like, moving forward. Like, now I just sleep in the car, right? Like, this one time I showed up and I got the times horribly wrong and I thought that I was on stage in a couple of hours. I showed up to the festival and I was on in 3 minutes and my band was already on the stage. But anyway, I parked next to the stage and lucky for me, I could sleep in my car. So I felt like... I'd really progressed as an artist by then because I had accommodation on the go.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
You don't need to worry about it.
Yeah.
It's all on you.
Hotel Falcon.
Falcon. Oh,
Yeah.
What a masterpiece.
So good, right? Because I really feel like I've made it now.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Just got to replace the sound system and then you're pretty much music royalty by then.
Yeah. Just roll out the mattress. Super good.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So other than that, I can think of so many other terrible gigs, but I think the bookends of those 2 experiences, my first tour and then unfortunately the last one that I've had thus far due to COVID, I think are 2 pretty shitty gigs.
They sound pretty horrible.
They were. There's other ones that are kind of like you know, things come up and they, you know, and
You are more than welcome to share as many as you like.
it's like
Yeah, there is absolutely no time limit. You know, they've normally gone for 20 minutes, but if you end up talking for 1 hour, that's fine.
Wow, because there has been a lot of terrible shows. Well, there was. I mean, they're not. The thing is about a terrible show, right? The only reason I picked that particular show in Christchurch is because the actual show itself turned out to be like bad, and I really had lost my voice in that. You know, the guy just basically kicked me off. But most of the time, it's the surrounding events.
Yeah.
And the gig itself is usually...
You can kind of like break it up into like gigs where you actually just played poorly, or where you've been playing a gig and poor things have happened.
Yes.
And not necessarily because you're playing bad, but because, you know, someone decided to throw a bottle at you from the crowd or things like that. You know, they're all equally valid. Yeah.
You would never find a body.
Probably not. No.
I think there are, like, the time where I put in the wrong harmonica live. I did. And then I went to, like, launch into my solo live on ABC and just went like, ha!
Wait, what do you had the wrong harmonica?
Okay, so harmonicas are in different keys, right?
Oh, obviously, I knew that.
Yeah. So if you...
yeah.
Well, it's if you just go to play the wrong note, you know, you're in the band and you're playing a different song.
Yeah.
And you go to rip your solo and you're like, ooh, that's not the right thing to play. No. That's what happened live on the radio.
Did you pack the wrong one, or did like the sound
I personally packed the wrong, put it in.
Can't even blame it on someone else. That's
you can't when you're a solo singer-songwriter, you know. There's a lot of it just falls back on you. Yeah, that was pretty bad. And there was a lot of red faces in the studio.
Did you just play through it?
You have to, because you're live. And you're looking at the presenter who's trying very hard not to let on that you've just crucified your interview. They were very, very generous with their praise and almost overcompensating with the... remember when we could touch each other? Yeah, they were like, we took a picture in front of the sign and I was like...
like tears rolling down your face and mascara is running. Like,
that was really true, actually. So there's been things like that make you go like, what? That is so amateur. But now you see my harmonicas, and I do it on stage because I've got PTSD. There's like big letters on the top of my harmonicas. So you'll see, just before I do a solo, I like look down and I'm like, oh yeah, it's the right key. Even if I've checked it 5 times. Like one time I had a harmonica that my niece had got a hold of and she'd been eating banana. And the banana got wedged in the harmonica and I went to play the harmonica on stage and went... That was pretty bad.
Yuck.
But I'm going to say, like, the reigning supreme, like, if we were going to say, like, the got caught smoking a joint by a police officer, that's pretty rock and roll. That's not bad. Like, that's probably me peaking, cool, actually.
Yes,
like, that's probably the top of my game. I should have just walked away after that. But the ultimate worst gig ever was... my proper first show that I ever like booked, and I was going to get paid, and that was like invite everyone you know, and everyone shows up because it's at that time in your career where you get that one gig wonder and people show up, but after that you're on your own.
Yeah, naturally.
Yeah,
it happens.
And I was into wearing very short mini skirts, and
Same.
Yeah, great. I love mini skirts. They don't love me as much anymore. But I just recently broken up with my very first boyfriend.
How old were you when you played this gig?
Oh, goodness. I must have been 22. So this is my first, like, I'm going to be a musician. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go down to that sports bar and play a 3-hour set. That was that show.
It's 3 hours of horses.
Yes, but I was also freshly loaded with all this heartbreak from having broken up with said boyfriend.
Recipe for success.
It really was.
Adele's made an entire career out of it.
Yeah, it's so clever. I know, and that's what I say about being I was like, I can't fall in love. Like, it could be the end of me. I can't get too happy.
One way or the other, yeah.
Yeah, I've got to keep it somber. People aren't going to take me for real as a folk singer if I'm like...
Everything's going
Everything's great. Look at the world.
I'm happy.
We are killing it. No, we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah. It's all a facade and it's fine.
Yeah. So I got up on the stage and freshly broken up with said boyfriend and mini skirt on and feeling fabulous. And a few days later, I saw his sister, and in that kind of moment, I was just like, how you going? And, you know, that kind of awkward shuffle of, oh gosh, I'm seeing someone from his life, and now we've had dinner together and I've met your parents. This is really, I don't have the maturity to deal with this just yet.
Yeah.
And I said, yes, I'm a musician now. And she said, yeah, I actually walked past the sports bar when you were playing. And I was like, yeah. So I did like a 3-hour set. She's like, yeah, you had your miniskirt tucked in your undies. And I was standing in front of the window, which is just a floor-to-ceiling window, and all the people walking past, all they could see was just my miniskirt tucked in my undies.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And then I came out, started wearing jeans, and I've had no problems.
You could have never had that conversation with her and you would still be playing in miniskirts.
This is true. The world is really missing out on 14 foot of leg. But yeah, that's probably like the number one spot of like, I came in to be all confident and egomaniac, and I just got...
But I mean, you probably played all right though.
I don't think... This is your first gig, man.
Yeah.
This is like when you're playing, you know, you've got a microphone held up to your guitar and you've banged it 4 times because you're not really quite sure how to hold yourself, and you're sliding down off things, and, you know, there's all these drum kits on stage and you're playing to pokey machines and
crying,
but you think you're amazing at it. Yeah, my legs looked great. My undies,
that's all that matters,
were
really.
clean, thank God. That would have been so awkward if I'd put on those old dungers that day. We all know the ones.
The shit catches.
It's so good. You could have a brand. Like, fuck off, Bonds.
They cost $1 a pair. They're not good. They're not going to last long. But then, something, you know. If someone dacks you, you know, they're not going to see anything.
Yeah.
And that's all that matters.
If you've got your mini skirt tucked in your undies, they'll keep it clean.
It's all good.
Yeah. So that has brought back a lot of trauma. I'm going to need to take a drink now.
Yeah, well, it's cathartic, you know. It's almost stories plus therapy.
It is.
Relive some
and
painful experiences.
You can't, like, share these stories. That's why I was so fascinated about the topic, because you can't... I'm a storyteller on stage, so you can kind of share these stories, but
not in song form.
No, unless you're very clear. Like, Steve Poltz did it in a song called Folk Singer, which is brilliant, about every terrible thing that's ever happened. That would be a great song to listen to for Worst Gig Ever, because he just rattles off every terrible thing that's ever happened, and it's hilariously good. But I feel like that's been done, and I can't rewrite a song like that.
No, unless you go like the other way and you're super duper vague and you're talking these grand metaphors, and people are like, oh, this is really deep, but you're actually just talking about playing a bushfire gig to 7 people. Oh,
that was the most heartbreaking part of that particular show, because you think all these people that have lost everything, and we can't even help them. And the 7 people are not even going to cover the cost of security that we've got on. Not for me, because clearly I'm... That sounded really
the crowds at your gigs are nuts.
The security fees are through the roof.
People want to abduct me. I don't know. Yeah. They want to spend time with me.
Piece of this, you know? It's just been happening all my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that gig was just sad on every level. And I think I played with a scowl on my face, and I'm genuinely a chipper person, you know, but I think...
Picked the wrong genre.
Yeah, it's true. Do you know what people often say when I come off stage? They're like, that is the funniest comedy show I've ever been to. Your music's pretty good.
Maybe you need to create a persona.
I think so. Well, a few people say like,
Hannah Montana, Miley Cyrus kind of thing.
I tried that for a little bit, but I can't psychologically keep up with myself as one person.
True.
So I just have to kind of separate.
Or something.
Yeah, Orville Peck style. Like,
yeah,
I could do that.
That would be cool.
I could do that. because I confuse people, you know. I tell funny stories and then I dive into heartbreak, and it's like, oh,
You've got fear. I didn't know
my
you had
emotions.
feelings. Holy
Oh
shit.
God, there's so many. I was laughing, and now I'm really head over my bucket.
People are complicated,
Yeah.
man. Just because they're happy on the outside, they
Yeah.
got sad things inside. What the hell?
Well, that's what I thought about comedy. I was like, I could go into comedy, but I feel like you're already sad, and charging people to forget about it, to forget about your sadness. Whereas folk singing, I was like, I can be sad and not hide it.
Yeah.
But now I'm accidentally funny sometimes, and people get confused.
Yeah.
Hurtful.
It could work. Either way, I think you've got a career in either.
Thank you.
Do a hybrid.
Yeah, I'm going for it. I'm wallowing. Well, you know, in the post-COVID world, you know, I will clutch at anything I can.
I'll do any.
And
Someone
audience?
gives me money, I'll do
Yes,
anything.
no worries.
Anything.
Rock music, absolutely. I've been playing it my whole life.
Yeah, I'm a
Yeah.
jazz fusion saxophonist. Yeah, come on, I can
Yeah,
play. It's fine. How hard is it?
absolutely. Will there be people? Yes.
Will there
The
be
answer-
money?
Yeah, absolutely. I did play a show at the ESPY once in a metal competition as a folk singer.
That's kind of cool.
I didn't mean to.
How did that happen?
Well, I just landed in Melbourne and someone said, you've got to play the ESPY. And I was like, what is this place, the ESPY? You know, and so it was like the oracle. Like, if you play the ESPY, you are a musician. So I was like, right, play the ESPY. It was just like this drive. And of course, you don't get booked
Don't
to
read
play.
anything.
Like,
Just like, I'm
yeah,
playing. Like,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually didn't. I just saw this opportunity. It's like competition, you know,
So
play the ESPY.
Didn't say anywhere it was metal.
I think now that I've got a little bit more understanding of marketing, maybe I would have read in the fonts used that perhaps it wasn't quite the genre that was most suited for my style. But at that point, I'm from small town New Zealand, so I'm like, font schmont. If it's saying I'm going to play the ESPY, I'm signing up.
Absolutely.
And I played amongst these incredible, like...
How was the crowd? How did they receive you expecting some metal?
Well, they were very generous because it was so clear how green I was in this incredibly thick Kiwi accent. And again, the miniskirt was probably...
Miniskirt was back at this point.
Yeah. I'd made it a little bit longer
Medium skirt.
by that point. I'm trying to remember if I was or not. But yeah, I think the crowd were just like, what is going on? And you know, the same thing, the microphone comes out in front of my guitar and I'm like,
Bonk.
here's a song about my feelings. And they gave me third place.
That's how many bands?
There were heats. There was like semis and finals and stuff, but I was so random.
That's kind of cool.
It was like, I didn't realise it was cool at that time. I was still going, play the SP. And I had such blinkers on that I was like, there's so many metal bands. I was like, I wonder if there's any other kind. And I didn't know for a long time, like, oh, there was like folk and country. And
Yeah.
it's like, I just didn't know. I just came here so green.
Of all the like kind of audiences you could have played to, I feel like metal are the most accepting.
They were
That's
just
in my
beautiful.
opinion, but they're really just kind of chill and nice people. They'll jump around and like punch each other in the back of the heads in, you know, mosh pits, but they're actually really nice and accepting.
They were just so surprised. And as I say, like, just generous with the space. And I jumped off stage and people were complimentary. And that's why I didn't realise as well that I was in...
Yeah, like,
well,
it's not like,
yeah.
oh, you folk, you get out. They're like, oh, no, it's actually,
They just thought,
Kerryn's actually
wow,
pretty good.
you've got chops, man,
Yeah.
to like come into play the Gershwin room at this metal competition and just sit there and sing your little folk songs.
She doesn't give a fuck. That's metal
Like,
as
that's
hell.
metal as shit. Like, that chick's more metal than all of you guys. Fuck off.
Yeah. Fucking posers.
Yeah. Look at her in her miniskirt and her little white top. Like,
Was it like at least black? Were you wearing black?
No,
at least? Just,
man.
like bright colours?
this is how green I was.
Sticking
They
it
were
to
like,
the
do you
man.
have your own amp? And me, I was like, oh my God, I've got to get an amp. Like, I just had a guitar,
Oh, really?
right?
Did you have to bring your own amp?
No, because I was not a metal player. So when they were saying bring your own amp, they're saying bring your own amp for your big freaking
Yes.
metal show. And I was
Yes.
like, so I lugged this huge thing that my brother found on the side of the road at Hard Rubbish that is, it's probably worth no more than $49 retail
lucky.
on the day it was made. And when I showed up and dragged this amp, and like, if you've ever been backstage, it's just stairs
Tight
and
corners,
awkward. And
yeah.
then I showed up and the sound guy was like, you have to play through this amp. And I was like, they said bring an amp. And they were like, does it have a can you plug it into a DI? And I was like, what's a DI?
What's a DI?
Like, they're like, do you
I
have
ask
a
the same
lead?
questions to Nate every
Yeah.
time he mentions anything musical. Now.
I was like,
what does that mean?
What is that?
Is that expensive? I don't know.
It's like, we can plug your guitar in and like, or hold a mic up. I was like, so I don't need an amp? It's like, is this your sound? I was like, what do you mean my sound? Like, you know.
You're asking a lot of questions.
I was like,
don't
I
know
just
the
want to
answers
play my songs and play the SB and just feel famous. And they were like, okay, here's your
All
spot.
right. I'll organise something
I look
for
back
you.
at it and I think those guys just must have been cracking up.
Probably still talking at you to this day. Like, why did that chick bring a
Yeah,
with her
and a
acoustic
really
guitar?
bad
There's no
amp
plugins.
from Hard Rubbish. Like,
She didn't even know what a
who
DI
was
was.
this character? Like, it was so bad. But we did, I mean, I kept in touch with the organisers to some extent because
Yeah.
they really, I mean, Melbourne is a community of absolute legends. Like, you know, your family, no matter where you are and what genre you play. And that was my first welcome into the Melbourne community, which was like, you don't quite fit here,
Yeah.
but you're fit.
Yeah.
You know, we'll take
Very
you.
welcoming. Yeah.
So that was my. That wasn't a bad gig. That to me, it was like maybe again one of my peaking moments.
Kinda funny,
in
to be
my
honest.
life. Yeah, and you know my little set list like printed out on the microphone with the word cues.
Hell yeah.
It's
Look at you now.
I know, right? Playing to no one.
Been stagnant ever since.
Yeah, I've just been waiting for my moment to.
So an executive's gonna walk past one day,
Yeah.
they're gonna hear me and be like,
That chick really knows her
Sign it.
metal. Like, yeah, she's great. She's got potential.
unplugged metal, that's the future of music.
it's
right
badass, man. Yeah, real badass. No, I knew nothing when I showed up to this sweet village we call Melbourne about anything music. So I'm surprised I haven't got worse stories to tell about gigs, to be honest. Like, I've got some terrible busking stories, but I don't know if that kind of like slides into the gig domain, you know, because busking is generally like it's a hard slog, you know, like so.
What's your worst busking story?
The saddest busking story.
You're gonna get sad again. Cool.
Yeah, folk singer, man. Like that's
that's
just
true.
my natural go-to. Like,
Should know better.
good to think of. I've got lots of heartwarming stories of busking.
Not interested in that.
And this does have a nice ending to it, but you know, the beautiful street folk you meet and the wonderful culture of being a street performer is just incredible. But this particular time, I had a license to be where I was busking. And I've had people take money from my case as I'm going past, and I'm just kind of like, that's...
Isn't that what you're supposed to do?
No, they're supposed to give it.
Oh, shit.
People took it. But I was just like, that's confident. You know, and you probably need it. You wouldn't take it for fun. And if you did,
Yeah.
then, I mean,
That's a good mindset.
I was just
Instead of,
kind of like...
Instead of kicking him or like...
Nah,
hitting
man.
him,
Like,
that's
you
a good
clearly,
mindset
like,
to
have sat down and gone, like, oh, man, I really need $2 and I'm going to go and get it. So peace out to you, man. Live
If
the
they're wearing
life
a
you imagine.
suit, not okay.
Well,
Anything
that's where the
else-
sad story comes in,
wearing a
right?
suit.
So this guy, I'm standing there in my license spot because it's Melbourne, right? So we've all got our bits
Yeah.
where we're supposed to be. And this guy comes out and 2 doors out of this jewelry store, like... And then he goes through the one door, and then he comes out, and I was like, oh, this guy's going to give me $4 million. And he was like, crispy suit, man. I was like, you bought that this morning, you know? And he opened his wallet, and it was just like...
Stacked.
And he said, it was Christmas time. And he said, look, I will give you a donation if you move along. And I was just kind of standing there, kind of mid-song, because people are walking past, and you're kind of like, smile for the people, like you're doing your job. And in my head, I'm like, I'm allowed to be here. I actually have a permit. And he said, yeah, I'm sure you are, but it's Christmas time, and it's just not very welcoming for our kind of customers. And I'm like, just a little bit frazzled right now because I've got my amp and my guitar, and I'm also allowed to be here. And I'm like, he's like, but I will give you a donation.
I'll
So
move
I'm like-
for $1,000.
So I was just like, at that point, you know, to kind of open up and go down a little bit of a rabbit hole, I'm a woman, a queer woman in the music industry. I'm used to being shit on, like, and I mean in really horrible ways, and ways that make you feel like I should move. Like, and in that time, in that my head,
Nah, fuck
I was
them.
like, right now, I'd be like, motherfucker,
Yeah,
please.
fuck you.
fuck you.
Yeah.
Go back inside your fucking glass door before I deal with you.
I
It's
will
so violent.
staunch
Like
you
suddenly
with my guitar.
I'm back into my rock and roll, getting stoned in front of cops. But no, I don't even know if I could actually have it in me to do that. But now, of course, I would assert my confidence in a way that was probably better for me than what I did do, which was I just kind of looked down and went like red in the face, and I was like, okay, I'll move, and I kind of felt really intimidated by this guy that had, just
How much did he give you?
$5.
What?
So I moved,
What?
right, and he watched me. He stood there with his arms folded, and this beautiful, I'm going to say, look, he appeared as if the streets were more of his home than maybe a base that he'd been at. So this fella was well known on the streets, and he came up and helped me, and he took everything very meticulously and helped me move. And that kind of like gesture when you've got prick face over there, like folding his, didn't even help you move your stuff, So anyway, beautiful street folk come and help. Thank you. Opened his wallet again, like concertina, and like went to like patronizing. Just
Wait,
like,
is this the same guy?
Yeah, and like pulled out his $5 and put it in my hand, and then took my hand and closed my hand over the $5, and I was like, you are literally like, honestly,
mad thinking about
this. I was like, man, your mum must be stoked with you.
She's not. That guy sucks.
He really sucked. Yeah. But look, there is the happy ending. The following day, I was in Brunswick, and I was busking on Smith Street. Already, like, the lights are going, she's returned. Like, what were you doing in the CBD, you weirdo? Yes, and it was like that. And I was outside this very small jeweler shop, and it set out the front, like, proudly owned and operated for, like, 25 years. And so, and not so much as a padlock on the door, that kind of vibe. And so I'd been playing there for hours out the front. And this beautiful man came out from the jewelry shop, and he put $10 in my case, and he said, I have just had the best day, and I just really love it if you kept playing until we close the store.
Fuck yeah.
And then he came out and gave me more money before I left, and then he went to the fruit shop next door and bought fruit. And this it's a jeweler, and I was just like, I just feel like
it all worked out in the end.
Circle of life. Fuck that first jeweler, man. Yeah.
I can't believe. I'll pay you to leave. I'll make a donation.
I'll make a donation. I was like, honey, no, that's not a donation. That's a down payment on my breath going in and out of my body. Like,
I want something green.
No, for me, I was like, that kind of exposed a little bit of my, that ego and greed as well, where you're kind of like, someone in a suit's going to give me more money, but it doesn't happen. And for buskers, you'll know, like, suits.
They're wearing a suit. They're a bastard.
They're just
Sorry to all my suit wearing listeners out there. I don't mean that. You're probably okay.
Well, I did busk once on the corner of Collins Street in the rain, and that's like where you would think like, oh yeah, like I've worked on Collins Street. I've worn a suit, so I feel like, I've
know a
been
bit
there,
about suits.
I would on purpose go around to all the buskers in my suit. This is a $6 Kmart suit from the op shop, by the way.
Nothing wrong with that.
Let's not take it too far.
I buy my best clothes from Savers. It's
totally.
Not rag
and
on
they
op
came
shops.
from somewhere kind of not so good before. But so I busked in the rain, and I was desperate for a loaf of bread. And this is probably one of the low moments. Like my knee was busted. I'd had surgery. I was on crutches and
getting to the high water mark of the episode.
Yeah, I couldn't even make enough for a loaf of bread on the corner of Collins in the rain. It was that sad. Like people almost felt like the shame was so bad that they couldn't even go near me. Like, yeah.
Oh,
but that's busking. That's a whole different kettle of fish.
I don't know if you ever tried this, like busking. Like if you've got your thing open and like it's completely empty.
Yeah.
Do you feel like people are less likely to put money in there if they see that it's empty, as opposed to like you've got some like little notes and like other coins scattered around?
It's such an interesting psychological situation.
People are like, that's actually pretty good. But if they see you're playing, even if you're playing the same song and there's no money, you're like, oh, maybe I've got bad taste. Maybe she's not good.
It's true. And there is this music industry guy said one day, you can't tell people that you're good. Other people have to tell people that you're good.
Yeah.
And that's the mentality behind money in the case. Other people have validated it, so you kind of feel like, oh, I can do it now.
Yeah,
There's definitely
I wanna
those
be in the cool
people,
group.
fresh off that'll put your money in. But as a busker as well, and I don't know, man, I didn't
hard
have,
to do that if you can't
I
afford
didn't
a
have
loaf of bread, though.
I couldn't have coins to put in to start with, so awkward.
Oh, I shouldn't laugh at that. That's horrible.
That's just how it is.
That's show business.
But yeah, definitely on a thriving day where your case is starting to look really golden and, you know, the sun's shining and people just look at the case and they look at you and it all looks
Just
fabulous.
talented.
Oh, wow, you know.
Yeah.
So out comes, you know, the big bucks and people buy your CDs and stuff like that. Which,
Hell yeah.
yeah, it always made me feel a little bit awkward, like, I want you to like me with my case empty. Maybe that's my next album. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why don't
Start
you love
working
me
out,
when
man.
my case is empty? Why do you only love me when my case is full?
If you weren't with
Yeah.
me when my case was full, you don't deserve me when my case was empty.
Yeah, like, no, it's true. Like, there's some validation in there.
There's some blues here. There's
Yeah.
some folk here. This can work.
Well, that's why you take to the streets as well, to learn your craft, but also to get that degree of human psychology of basically you're a professional people watcher and every now and then someone notices you. So you really get to learn a lot about the human psyche and people who walk like a rainbow around you. Like, oh God, I don't want to catch the busking. You're like, oh God.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's a lot to be learned and a lot of humility, and certainly in the cases like the jeweler and the very sweet fella who didn't look like he had, you know, 2 coins to rub together, just immediately leapt up, saw what was going on, and he was really nice. That beautiful. I actually can't remember his name.
Bill?
No, because he didn't even stay
Dave.
for me to let. Before I could even turn around to offer him, I would have just given him the $5. Like, he was gone. You know,
Yeah.
like it was just like he literally was just saw what was going on, and I think the only thing he said to me was like, "That guy's a dick."
Yeah.
You know, and I was like, wow.
I agree 100%.
Yeah, and then he just,
Fuck that guy.
yeah, just left. So it's moments like that on the street where you're just like, oh, human kindness, like it's here and it's alive. Yeah, don't go busking
real.
at the Melbourne races or anything like that.
Oh, no.
Like, no.
Hell no.
Yeah.
I'm going to do something new here. What advice would you give to new musicians that have just played the worst gig of their life?
Your worst gig is yet to come.
It can get worse.
Yeah, it can get worse. Take it on the
You've
chin.
not hit rock bottom yet. Don't
Yeah,
even
rock
worry.
bottom's on the way, mate. Like, yeah.
How very folksy of you.
Yeah. No, man.
No, I
you
love that bit of advice. Don't even add to it. That's good.
Yeah.
Stop it at that. That's fantastic.
Good.
I love that brutalism. That's great.
It is really. Damn, girl.
All right. So you've told some stories of some horrible gigs. So in this show, you get a shot at redemption.
Great.
What song? What song are you going to be playing?
I've got a song about life on the road and being an artist that is going to be on my next record. It's called Queenie.
Queenie.
So I'm going to play you that one.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for coming on. And coming up next is Queenie.
Thank you. I look forward to coming back for my next appearance when I've had the next shittiest gig of my life.
I want you to spend the next year doing drugs and drinking way too much and just being a general mess of a person, and then
So I'd have to
playing
ease up a bit.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it might actually make you withdraw a little bit, and then you're
I
playing
know, I have
even
to come
worse.
down, man. Didn't you hear my
Hell
first
yeah.
gig story?
Oh, yeah.
Smoking dooms in front of police officers. I'm graduated.
I wonder if it can get worse for you. I really wonder.
I've got no money in the bank. This guitar slung on my back, and this hat I have worn a while. I came here alone, and that's the way I'll go. I won't be long back out your door, but I can light a fire, roll out a sweat, climb a mountain top and drink water there. I'm a queen of the road. I need earth, I need air. To where I've been, the places I've survived, strumming my way through town. And what I don't sing, it's too deep in me. And mostly that weighs me down. But I can light a fire, roll out a swag, climb a mountain top and drink water there. I'm a queen of the road. I need earth, I need air. Roll out a swag, climb a mountain top and drink water there. I'm a queen of the road. I need earth, I need air. I've got no plan ahead, and I change direction. I guess I stared too long at the stars.
Just as the boy races, that's ripping donuts. Yeah. Cool.
And that's it. Thanks for listening. Coming up next week is Nathan Power, a folk singer that has toured all over Australia. If you enjoyed this, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, or whichever podcast platform you're listening from. The theme song for The Worst Gig of My Life is produced by Nathan Laurent. The interview and live performance was recorded and mixed by Nathan Laurent. See you next week.